Some games age poorly. You play them when you're a kid, most fun game ever. You play them again 10 years later, and poopy. Is this the case with Hades? I just picked the game up again, and I gotta say, no, it's still perfect. First time I played, had a good time. Second time I played, had an even better time. But the second time, I'm paying attention about what makes the game so great. And so I'm going to break down for you the 3 reasons why Hades is such a great game. The first 2 reasons being kind of a fundamental thing that you need to be a great game. But the third reason is what makes Hades stand apart from the rest of the roguelikes out there. First, let's start with the aesthetics of Hades, both the looks and the sounds. When you first start playing, it immediately sticks out how beautiful this game is. The art style is incredible. It's an isometric game, so it's kind of like a top-down 2.5D or pseudo 3D type game. It kind of gives everything the 3D feel without being actually 3D animation. All of the levels have very crisp design, and the color scheme changes from level to level, but everything contrasts with the characters as well as with the enemies, so you can always see what things are going on, regardless of how hectic things get. And trust me, things get hectic. And for the characters themselves, let me tell you, man, every single character design is so f***ing sexy. Cool. They're cool. All their character designs are cool. It's one of those games that you don't really think about while you're playing, but the moment you start doing an Aphrodite run, you kind of turn around to make sure the door's closed. You know what I mean? Practically every character in Hades, whether they're a side character or a main character, has a top-notch design. Listen, I'm not a hunter, but I would Steven Seagal a bear for Artemis. Even Ice Grandma, I forget her name. Ice Grandma, though. You know what I'm talking about. Even Ice Grandma. Listen, all I'm saying is that I can't blame Zagreus for trying to hook up with every single non-familial side character in the game. Now moving on to the sound. The sound design is so good that even in my 200 hours of gameplay, I don't think there was even one time that I noticed a sound. And that means that like every sword swing, every gulp from a fountain, every time I pet a dog or pet a dog or pet a dog, I didn't even think about the sounds because they didn't stand out at all. That's exactly what you want. You want your sounds to be so perfect that they don't ever break immersion. And that's what you get with Hades sound design. And as far as gaming music goes, Hades has one of the most iconic soundtracks out there. I mean, when I'm playing, I'm just drumming on my counter, I'm singing along, I'm beatboxing, you know. The vibe is real. It's set by the sound, the music. The music for every occasion perfectly blends together. But beyond the songs that are just part of the gameplay, but you'll know this if you've actually beaten the main storyline of Hades. Once you're on the credits screen, you get another song sang by 2 of the side characters of the game. It's called In the Blood, and trust me, it is a banger. You already know it if you've beaten the game. If you haven't beaten the game, then, I mean, you're a noob. Also, something we'll talk about a little bit more later is that this is an indie roguelike game, right? But every line in this game is voice acted. That is so crazy. Anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit more later because it goes a little bit more with the third point. Now that's great. I know games can look good but play bad, and I know the hardcore gamers do, I don't care how it looks. Whatever, all right? It plays amazing. It is a basic roguelike, right? So you do have basic roguelike mechanics. You progress through procedurally generated course with somewhat random build options popping up, influenced by some external factors that you can unlock as you play the game. In Hades, as far as builds go, you have 8 basic gods, each with 5 build-based boons. You have 6 weapons, each with 4 different aspects or different ways you can play with those weapons. I've done some calculations, and conservatively by my estimates, you have about 1 trillion different combinations. While not all builds are equal, every build does feel unique, it affects how you play, and most importantly, every build is viable. I've played roguelike games where halfway through my run, I'm like, this build is either boring or it's not good, and so I'm gonna quit. Yeah, whatever, you can at me in the comments. But that has never happened, not even once in Hades. I've played for 200 hours and there was never a time where I felt like I was using a build that I wasn't able to win with or that I didn't have fun with. This variety of builds kind of encourages you to learn all the mechanics of the game, not just the basic attack and the special attack, but maybe the cast, maybe the call, maybe the dash attacks, things like that. Those can help you explore different avenues and eventually grow your skill, which is the next point. I didn't notice this my first run, but you gain a lot of skill while playing this game, and it requires a lot of skill. On my second playthrough, my first run, I made it all the way up to Big Papa. but then he beat my ass like a 90s kid talking back. The point is, my first playthrough, I think it took me about 30 runs to make it up to the top. You might think that makes me bad, but you know what I think? Shut up. The point is that you're not just getting better because of the mirror and the upgrades that you're doing. This game does require skill, and you gain it as you play. I think a prominent sign of good mechanics is how much your skill affects your gameplay. And in Hades, it's an obvious thing. If you don't believe me, go back and play again and see how much further you get than you did your first playthrough. Before we move on to the third point, the thing that makes Hades not just a great game, but what makes it truly special and stand out from the rest of the roguelikes, I want to ask you for a favor. Please help me raise this little baby channel. I got this little baby channel into a toddler channel by liking this video and subscribing to get more indie video game content. There are plenty of great games out there with beautiful aesthetics and great gameplay, but what makes Hades stand out from those other roguelikes is that it has an amazing story. Now, Hades has slightly over 20,000 lines of dialogue, and that is insane for a roguelike, an indie roguelike. And if you remember what I said earlier,
every line in this game is voice acted.
What's more astounding is that in my 200 hours of gameplay, I haven't heard any contradictions. I haven't been taken out of the game one time by a weird dialogue choice, which is crazy because in a AAA game, I'll slaughter an entire village and I'll come back to the village a week later and people will be like,
"Welcome back, hero."
And I want to make it clear that there's not just a story in the game. There's a wonderful story in the game. I'm planning to make a video where I do an analysis, a deep dive into the story of Hades. And if that video is made, there'll be a link up above. And even aside from the main story, there are tons of side stories that intertwine with each other between the side characters. There's so much side content that even in my first playthrough, I didn't find it all. It was until my second playthrough, about 50 hours into my second playthrough, that I saw I could talk to a boulder. And so I talked to that boulder and bam, more content. Now it's time to move into what I don't like about the game. Just kidding, that part of the video doesn't exist because I give this game 2 thumbs up and a Hancock smile. If you watched up to this point, please like the video and subscribe to get more indie game content. Thank you, and I will see you all next time.